So this is my video about my Amtrak ride on the Coast Starlight. This is my first time riding on the Amtrak, so it was a totally brand new experience, and I decided to ride in business class. I rode from LA Union Station to San Francisco, where I got off in Oakland at the Jack London Square station, and it was about a 12-hour trip from about 9 a.m. to about 9 p.m. One thing I didn't realize when getting to Union Station is that it was going to be so vast. Because of that, and because of how unexpected it was to me, I actually got lost on the inside. I ended up having to ask for directions on where to find my train.
Always ask for directions. Very late.
I was riding on a Friday, and as we were waiting for the train, our car attendant, they told us that it was going to be full, it was going to be busy, and we're probably going to sit next to somebody. There are no more COVID restrictions, so they're filling every seat once again. I did try to strategically get on the train in a way where I wouldn't have to sit next to anybody. Unfortunately, I did, but later I would realize that it really wasn't a problem. So after the train started rolling, the car attendant lady, she came and took our tickets. She kind of placed a note above our seats to where our ending location was. Then after all that, I decided to kind of roam around the train and do some exploring. And my first stop was the bathroom, which what can you ask for? It was a bit bigger than an airplane bathroom, and it got the job done. So after that, I went to where I would actually end up spending most of my time on the train, which is the viewing car. And it's just absolutely gorgeous in there, and you have breathtaking views from every seat. It's a first come, first serve for seats, and you're not allowed to save seats either for other people. But seats open up pretty often, and there's just kind of like this rotation that happens naturally. I was feeling a bit hungry, so I went downstairs to the store where they have all these goods. If you're hungry or thirsty, it'll get the job done. But it's not anything special, and the prices aren't too bad either. I ended up just getting a bagel and a cookie, and it was more than enough to tide me over. Now once I got my food and I found a good spot in the viewing car, this is where I really started to enjoy myself. And of course, this kind of travel and activity, if you can call it that, isn't for everybody. It's for people who just really like to sit and watch the world go by, which is exactly what I did, and it's something that I truly enjoyed. Starting off on the journey, it was just so cool to watch the ocean go by and see the beach, and you kind of move a little forward and a little backward, and you get close to the ocean, and you're just like right there watching, and it's just so amazing to see the landscape move in front of you in like a perfect panoramic view. I brought a book, but it was actually really hard to read because every time I would go down to read it, I just wanted to keep looking back up. So it was actually super distracting in the viewing car to try and read, at least for me, because I just wanted to keep staring out the window. Part of riding the train is going through some tunnels, and I would suggest that if you are claustrophobic at all, that you would probably just go to your seat or just find somewhere else to sit than the viewing car, because it just gets really dark. It gets dark everywhere, but in the viewing car you like can see it and feel it. But I did time it, and the longest that you are in one of those tunnels is only about 3 minutes, and it's only in the beginning really, and maybe 4 or 5 times you're going through a tunnel. So naturally, as you're sitting there, you're gonna wanna try to get on the Wi-Fi, and I did try for a little bit to connect to the Amtrak Wi-Fi, but it just didn't really work for me. I didn't try in any other places than the viewing car, but I just ended up using my hotspot on my phone for my laptop. Luckily, I didn't really need to use my laptop or internet that day, so it wasn't a big deal. But that's just a note in case you do have to do work while you're traveling. Maybe some spots are better, some spots are worse. I just didn't have any luck, but I didn't really try that hard either. After a couple hours in the viewing car, people did start to kind of rotate and change positions. And an older gentleman and his friend actually came up and asked if they could sit at the booth that I was sitting at. They were very polite, and I invited them to sit down. They're actually former Amtrak conductors, and they kind of told me about their story and what they were doing, and it was super neat. sitting with other people in the viewing car and kind of talking about travel and where you're going and just a little bit about your life is kind of what the viewing car is all about as well. There's kind of like this urge in these travelers to want to conversate and share stories, and it's pretty cool. There are solo seats and stuff if you're not really into that, but if you do sit in the booths, you are going to end up sitting next to somebody, and most likely you're going to interact with them in some way. And that's good, unless you're, if that's not your thing, then you're not going to like it, but I enjoyed it. One thing that was kind of unfortunate though during that conversation is that I missed the announcement for lunch sign up. So I just didn't really get to eat any lunch. I just ate one of my granola bars that I had. That kind of sucked, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world. There was tons of snacks I could have got downstairs. So as we continued the train, I made sure to get off on some of the stops where we would drop people off and get people on. We had a good amount of time, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes at these stops, and it was just nice to get some fresh air, stretch your legs a little more than you can in the train cars. They definitely let you know when they're leaving and packing up and ready to go, but you don't want to stray far, which I didn't. I stayed in sight of the door the whole time, so it wasn't that big of a deal, and I wasn't worried about missing the train again. So if you want to get some fresh air, I guess if you smoke, it's definitely something you can do in intervals while you ride the train. So at one point, when I got back on, I decided to check out the rest of the train, which was simply just the coach class. And I just wanted to compare it to the business class that I paid a little bit extra for. And to be honest, I think it was exactly the same in terms of seating and like how big the chairs are. I think it's just business class has a couple more amenities and like priorities when signing up for lunch and stuff like that. So if you're looking for comfort, I think you're gonna be comfortable no matter what. I just really enjoyed how simple the whole ride felt and very safe. I didn't feel weird about leaving my backpack above my original seat back in business class while I was away in the viewing car. I didn't feel weird about my luggage being downstairs, just kind of sitting there. It all felt safe, it all felt very comfortable, and our car attendant was super nice and friendly. So it was just very reassuring to know that everything was safe and everybody was nice and things weren't going to go missing 50 cars ahead because there's only 3 cars on this train. So after some time in the viewing car, I was finally called up for my dinner reservation. It was $40 and it's a 3-course meal. I ended up getting a tamale, which is kind of strange, and then a chicken dinner with some vegetables, and then it ended with a chocolate cake. I was starving at this point, but either way, I think I was pretty happy with how the food tasted and how much they gave you. Granted, it did basically cost as much as the ticket. I think I paid about $58 for my ticket and dinner was $40, so that is one thing to kind of note. Like, dinners are expensive, but it was nice. It was kind of romantic, sunset dinner, 3-course meal, by myself. I enjoyed it. So during the last kind of stint of my ride, when it was starting to get dark, I met another couple and played some cards with them, talked to them about life and what they were doing and where they were headed. And it was just so fascinating to just sit and talk with people and hang out and watch how the car changes from like this crazy party car where people are getting a bunch of drinks from downstairs and having a good time, and then an hour later they all get off and then it's just kind of chill and people are playing cards and people are just interacting, and it was super cool to see that and be part of it for a little bit. But most of the time I did kind of sit in a solo seat and just watch the world go by. So once I did get off the train finally, I felt revived. I felt like I wanted to spend more time on the train. I really did. The 12 hours that I did spend just flew by, and it was just like the perfect way to unwind and collect my thoughts and just kind of get ready for the journey that I had going on afterwards. It's definitely something I recommend for anybody to try at least once. Overall, the 12 hours I spent on the Coast Starlight did not seem to take that long. It went by quick for me, and out of that 12 hours, I maybe spent 1 or 2 in my actual seat. The rest spent in the viewing car, watching the world, eavesdropping, and simply enjoying the ride.